Uncertainty does not mean lost. It means the full path is not yet visible. That distinction carries more weight than it might appear to on a Thursday morning, because the mind inside uncertainty tends to interpret the invisibility of the path as evidence that the path does not exist. The next step is not clear, therefore there is no next step. The direction is not obvious, therefore there is no direction. The outcome is not confirmed, therefore the outcome may not be good. The uncertain mind fills the unseen with the feared rather than with the possible, and what it fills the unseen with becomes the lens through which it operates. But the path exists before it is visible. The next step is real before the clarity to take it arrives. The direction is being held by the God who sees the whole path from the first step. The uncertainty is on the person's side, it is not on God's. This is Thursday, April 23rd, deep into the week. The point where Monday's plan and Wednesday's reality have produced a specific configuration of forward movement and remaining uncertainty. Some of what was planned is done, some of what was hoped is resolved, and some of what remains is still genuinely unclear. The next step in the relationship, the next step in the decision, the next step in the situation that has been developing through the week without arriving at the resolution it was moving toward. God shows the next step, not the whole path, the next step. And for the person who has been waiting for the whole path before moving, the next step is the gift that the whole path was preventing them from receiving. His word declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 105, that your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. A lamp to the feet, not a floodlight on everything from here to the horizon. The feet, the next step. The specific illumination of what is directly in front of the person who is walking in darkness and who needs not the full picture, but the next place to put their foot. That is what God provides, and it is exactly sufficient for the person who is willing to move with what is lit rather than standing still until everything is lit. Before we enter this prayer, write in the comments right now, Lord, guide my mind through the uncertainty and show me the next step. I trust you with what I cannot yet see. Write it as the chosen posture, the decision to trust before the confirmation arrives, because the trust that only activates after the confirmation is certainty dressed as faith. The genuine article trusts before it sees, like this video as an act of choosing the lit next step over the paralysis of the unlit full path. Subscribe to this channel so we can begin every morning together, especially the Thursdays when the week's uncertainty has been building toward a specific set of next steps that are not yet visible. And share this prayer with someone who is standing at a genuinely uncertain crossroad this week. Not someone who needs advice about which direction to go. Someone who needs the God who shows the next step when the full path is invisible. Now let us bring the uncertainty before the one who holds the full path. Lord my God and my Father, I come before you on this Thursday morning with the specific uncertainties this week has produced. Not the vague general uncertainty of a person who is not sure how things will go. The specific named uncertainties that are present in the interior right now. The relationship that is in a season where the next right move is genuinely unclear. The professional situation that has been developing in a direction that has not yet resolved into a clear next action. The decision that has been turning over for more days than is comfortable without arriving at the clarity that would make the deciding feel confident rather than risky. I name each one before you, not to present you with information you do not have. To acknowledge that I have been carrying these uncertainties in my own interior, trying to resolve them through the thinking that has not resolved them, and that I am bringing them here because the thinking has reached its limit. And what is needed is not more thinking but a different kind of seeing. Show me what you see, Lord, not the whole path, the next step, the single, clear, specific, actionable thing that is mine to do or say or release or trust. Right here, right now. Before this Thursday demands more from a mind that has been carrying the uncertainty for too long. Your word declares in the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 5 through 6, to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Straight paths. Not easy, not smooth, not without difficulty. Straight. The direction holds even when the terrain does not cooperate. And the straightening of the path comes through the submission to God, not through the generation of enough clarity on one's own to feel confident about the path's existence. Submit before the clarity arrives. That is the order. The submission produces the path. The path does not produce the submission. Father, I want to name what the uncertainty has been doing to the Thursday mind before this prayer began. It has been generating alternatives. The uncertain mind cannot sit in uncertainty without proposing solutions to it. Which direction should I go? Here are the 5 possible directions. Let me run each one and evaluate the risks and the potential outcomes and the probability of each resolution. And the running, which produces no more actual clarity than the sitting would have, at least gives the mind the feeling of working on the problem rather than the feeling of being helpless before it. That feeling is useful, but it is not the same as clarity. And the distinction matters because the alternatives the anxious mind generates are not equally reliable. They are generated through the filter of the specific fears and the specific hopes and the specific history the person brings to the uncertainty. The alternative that feels most promising is usually the one that resolves the uncertainty in the direction the person wants. The alternative that feels most threatening is usually the one that resolves it in the direction the person fears. Neither of those is a reliable guide to what is actually going to happen. God's guidance through the uncertainty is different. It is not the generation of the most desired alternative. It is the specific direction that is right for this person in this situation, regardless of whether it is the desired one. The straight path is not always the comfortable one, but it is the right one. And the person who has learned to trust the straight path over the comfortable alternative is the person whose life moves somewhere real rather than somewhere wished for. Your word declares in the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, verse 21, that whether you turn to the right or to the left, your ears will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." The voice is behind, already present at every turn before the person arrives at the turn, already speaking the direction before the person has stopped to ask for it. And the person who has trained their ears to hear the voice behind them, who has been in enough morning prayers to recognize the quality of the guidance when it comes, walks through the Thursday's uncertainties with something the alternatives-generating mind does not have. Ears that are trained to the voice behind, and the next step, when it comes, is received rather than manufactured. Lord, guide my mind through the uncertainty and show me the next step. I trust you with what I cannot yet see. And Father, I want to ask for something specific about how the guided mind holds the period between asking for the next step and receiving it. Because the next step does not always arrive in the first 30 seconds of the prayer. Sometimes the guidance comes in the prayer. Sometimes it comes in the day's first conversation. Sometimes it comes in the unexpected moment of clarity that arrives while doing something completely unrelated to the uncertainty. And the period between the asking and the receiving is itself a test of the trust that the prayer declared. The anxious mind fills the period between asking and receiving with more alternatives generating. It is not content to wait. It interprets the waiting as absence. And in the absence, it returns to the manufacturing of alternatives rather than the receiving of guidance. The trusting mind holds the question open, not passively, actively open, with the genuine expectation that the voice behind is already speaking and that the clarity will arrive at exactly the right moment. Not the moment the person decided was necessary, the moment that is actually right. And the person who has been in enough morning prayers to know the difference between their own impatience and God's timing can hold that active openness without collapsing it prematurely into whatever the impatience was trying to manufacture. Your word declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 27, verse 14, to wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. Wait, be strong in the waiting. Take heart in the waiting. The waiting is not the absence of the guidance. It is the active posture of the person who asks genuinely and trusts the answer will come. The strength required for the waiting is as real as the strength required for the moving. And the person who waits well for God's next step is practicing a form of faith that the impatient alternatives generator never gets to practice. Lord, I want to pray now about the specific quality of the next step when it comes, because the next step that God shows is rarely the heroic step. It is almost always the next ordinary faithful thing, the phone call that has been deferred, the conversation that has been avoided, the small act of faithfulness that does not resolve the uncertainty, but that is genuinely the next right thing in the direction of the resolution. The step that, from inside the uncertainty, looks too small to matter, and that from inside God's view of the full path, is exactly the right move. This is one of the most consistent patterns of divine guidance in Scripture. God does not typically show people the full plan and then ask them to execute it. He shows people the next step and asks them to take it in faith that the steps after it will be revealed when the time comes. Abraham was told to go, not where. Go. The destination came incrementally as the obedience was practiced. The Israelites had a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night, not a map. A presence that moved and asked to be followed. The disciples were not given the full picture of what following Jesus would produce. They were given the simple invitation, "Follow me," and the path revealed itself through the following. Your word declares in the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 8, that by faith Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. Even though he did not know where he was going. That is the description of every person who has ever taken the next step in genuine faith. They went even though the destination was not confirmed. They moved even though the full path was not visible. They took the step because the God who was calling them was trustworthy, not because the direction was certain. That is the trust this Thursday prayer is asking for. Not the trust that has confirmation before moving. The trust that moves before the confirmation arrives, because the one calling is trustworthy. Lord, guide my mind through the uncertainty and show me the next step. I trust you with what I cannot yet see. Father, I want to ask for something that makes the next step takeable when the uncertainty is still present and the trust is being asked for before the feeling of confidence has arrived. I want to ask for the courage that is not confidence. Confidence is the feeling that the step is going to work out. It is contingent on the feeling. And feelings about uncertain situations are not reliable guides. They are generated by whatever the mind has been running, which is often the fear-shaped alternative rather than the accurate assessment. Courage is different. Courage is the decision to move in the right direction in the absence of the feeling that it is going to work. It is not fearless. It is the step taken in the presence of the fear, alongside the fear, because what is behind the step is more trustworthy than what the fear is predicting. The person who waits for confidence before taking the uncertain step waits for something that may never arrive in the conditions that are actually present. The person who acts from courage takes the step that the clarity revealed is right, regardless of whether the feeling of confidence has showed up to accompany it. Your word declares in the book of Joshua, chapter 1, verse 9, that the Lord commands to be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Wherever. Not wherever the path is clear and the outcome is confirmed. Wherever. The uncertain step and the uncertain territory and the place the full path has not yet revealed. Wherever. He is already there. And the courage to take the step is available from the God who is already at the destination of the step before the person has taken it. Be courageous today, Lord, in me, not generated by my own confidence, given by the one who commands it and then provides what the commanding requires. And Father, I want to ask for the specific quality of courage that Thursday requires rather than the general variety. Thursday's courage is not the dramatic one-time act of a person facing a major life decision. It is the sustained courage of a person who has been navigating uncertainty for 4 days and who is being asked to keep moving forward rather than to pause and resolve everything before continuing. The sustained courage. The courage of the person who does not get the full path revealed today and chooses to be faithful with what is lit rather than frustrated by what is not. That is the hardest form of courage. The undramatic continuation in the right direction when the direction has not been dramatically confirmed. Your word declares in the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 7 that we live by faith, not by sight. That is the description of the sustained courage. Not by sight of the full path, by faith in the one who holds it. Walking where the lamp is pointing rather than standing still until the full horizon is visible. Let me walk today, Lord, in faith, in the direction of the next step the lamp is showing, even though it is only one step and the one after it is still in the dark. Lord, guide my mind through the uncertainty and show me the next step. I trust you with what I cannot yet see. Father, as this prayer closes, I want to receive something about what it means to trust God with what cannot yet be seen. Trusting with what cannot be seen is not the same as ignoring what can be seen. The visible evidence is still real. The uncertainty is still genuine. The things that are not yet resolved have not been resolved by the prayer. What has changed is not the situation. What has changed is the relationship to the situation. The person who entered this prayer was in the uncertainty managing it alone. The person who leaves this prayer is in the same uncertainty but is no longer managing it alone. The full path that was invisible before the prayer is still invisible. But the God who holds the full path is now actively acknowledged as holding it, and the person who has acknowledged the holder does not have the same relationship to the held thing as the person who was pretending to hold it alone. Your word declares in the book of Psalm 37 verses 3 through 5 to trust in the Lord and do good, dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will do this. Commit your way. That is what happened in this prayer. The uncertainty, the full unresolved shape of it was committed to the Lord, and from that commitment, the trust is possible. And from the trust, the doing of the next right thing is possible. And from the doing, the path unfolds. Not all at once. Step by step, the lamp moving with the feet, the voice behind speaking the direction at each turn, the uncertain path becoming, through the walking in faith, the testimony of a person who trusted God with what they could not see and found that God was as good as his word. That is the week this Thursday is building toward. Not the week where every step was confirmed before it was taken. The week where the steps were taken in faith and the confirmation came through the taking rather than before it. And I want to close with the gift that the uncertainty navigated with God produces in the person who navigates it. Because the person who has taken uncertain steps in dependence on God knows something about God's faithfulness that the person who only takes confident steps does not know. The faith that has been exercised through genuine uncertainty is different from the faith that has only lived in comfortable certainty. It has been tested. It has found what it was trusting was real. And the tested faith produces a quality of trust that untested faith cannot replicate. Your word declares in the book of Romans chapter 5 verses 3 through 4 that we also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. The uncertainty that is being navigated this Thursday is producing something, not despite the discomfort of the not knowing, through it. The perseverance of the person who keeps moving in the right direction, even without the full path visible. The character of the person who has learned that God can be trusted in the dark as well as in the light. The hope of a person who has enough evidence from previous uncertainties to trust the outcome of this one. That is the life this Thursday prayer is part of building. And I want to name something about the specific quality of the person who has navigated many uncertainties in dependence on God. They are not the person who never worries. They are the person who has something to point to, a history, a record of previous uncertainties that were brought to God and navigated and resolved in ways the worrying mind was not able to produce on its own. And that history changes the relationship to the current uncertainty, not because the current uncertainty is less real, because the track record of the God who navigated the previous ones is increasingly undeniable. Your word declares in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 17 verse 37 that David said to Saul, "The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." David's confidence in the giant facing uncertainty came from the previous uncertainty already navigated. The lion and the bear, faced in dependence on God, produced the track record that made the giant manageable to approach, not because the giant was small, because the God who was faithful in the previous uncertainties was the same God being trusted in this one. What are the lions and bears in your history, the uncertainties that were navigated, the outcomes that came through even when they were not visible from the asking, the next steps that were shown and taken and that led somewhere real? That track record belongs in this Thursday prayer, not as spiritual nostalgia, as the evidence that informs the trust being asked for right now. The same God who was faithful then is being trusted now, and the next step being asked for today is being asked from the person who already has evidence of how God answers this kind of asking. Lord, guide my mind through the uncertainty and show me the next step. I trust you with what I cannot yet see. That is the declaration this Thursday begins from. The uncertainty is acknowledged. The full path is not visible. The next step is being asked for from the God who holds the full path. And the step, when it comes, will be taken in faith. Before the full path is visible, by a person who has learned that the lamp is sufficient for the foot that is moving. To everyone who prayed with me this morning, go back to the comments and write it one final time. Lord, guide my mind through the uncertainty and show me the next step. I trust you with what I cannot yet see. Return to that at every moment today when the uncertainty makes the alternatives generating louder than the voice behind. Subscribe to this channel and come back tomorrow morning. We are here every day, taking the next step before the full path is visible. Share this prayer with someone who is standing in genuine uncertainty today, not someone who needs a decision made for them, someone who needs the God who holds the full path to show them the next step. May the Lord guide your mind through every uncertainty this Thursday contains with the precision of the one who sees the full path from the first step. May the next step be made clear in the way that is right for you, in the moment that is right for you, in the form that you can receive it. May the courage to take the step arrive before the confidence does. And may you arrive at Friday with the quiet evidence of someone who trusted God with what they could not see and found that God was already there. In Jesus' name, amen.